There we go. All right, it's week 2. We're into our queries, and we're into probably the oddest assignment that we're gonna have. So I'm gonna cover the reverse engineering assignment first, because it's really it's a lot less complicated than you think it is. And then I'll get into this week's queries. So the reverse engineering website, basically what they want you to do is find any website that you use frequently that has some sort of input form. Don't like do eBay or something like ridiculously huge. Just something small, like the public library or something that just has some sort of like input page where you put data into it, right? Let me see if I can. Let me see. Go to coolstuffgames.com. Let's see. This is what I want here. Okay. So if I go to this website here, and I want to sell my cards that I have, I can go here, and I have this form that comes up, right? So let's say I choose to use this one for my reverse engineering. Basically, I want you to look at this form and kind of guess to your best ability what the backend database looks like. Okay, that's basically what it is. I want you to say, like, okay, it's got these tables and this information, and this is how it passes through to the database. So so here we've got so this is a collectible card game website, right? So there's obviously a table that has collectible card games, and then there's going to be a table that has sets from those card games, and then there's going to be a table that has cards from those card games, right? Because if I choose on this set here, I go down here, there are all these cards that show up, right? So I just want you to basically draw out what this would look like. So let me see if I can get a whiteboard going here. So let me just use Excel, because that's generally what I like to use. Okay.
Can I ask a quick question?
Sure, go for it.
So basically, it can't just be like a website that has a search bar. It has to be like,
no.
Yeah, okay.
It's got to be something a little bit more meaty than that. So let me go back to my let me minimize this so I can see both at the same time. Okay. So here we've got so now we're going to have a CCG table. We're going to have a, and I do this in Excel because it's easier for me to do it in Excel. There's a couple of videos over here on the on this thing here that will tell you how to reverse engineer a website and how to create an ERD. Okay, so these videos will
that fourth video for reverse engineering with MySQL.
Yeah, don't look at that.
That one was too short to get anything out of, really.
Well, basically,
like 1 minute long.
Yeah. So
yeah.
That's because so with this particular one, you actually have to have access to the database to reverse engineer. There's a really cool feature in here. So ERDs are incredible. ERDs are entity relationship diagrams. They show you how the database flows. They show you the tables. They show you the direction the data flows. They show you the indexes and the constraints and everything. And they're really, it's really sad that I think they're cool, but they're really cool. When I've designed databases, I've printed out the ERDs and put them on the wall just so I can track the data around. But so with this tool, with the MySQL Workbench, if you are working on a database that you've never seen before, you can go to that reverse engineer and it takes the existing database and puts it into an ERD for you to look at. So that's what this one is telling you how to do. This is the one you want to look at. How to
and it does work though. I did it. It was really cool.
Oh yeah,
the fourth one. Yeah.
Yeah, it's super cool. Microsoft SQL, so everything except true Oracle, the proper Oracle doesn't have that. MySQL does, MS SQL does, Postgres does, MongoDB does. There's thousands of databases that all do this, but it's really, really super cool. And like, so if you get a job as a DBA in your life and you have a new database you're working at, the first thing you do is you look at the ERD. That way you understand it. So, so just for the purpose of this, I do it in here because it's easier for me to design out. During the course of the semester, I'll find more. I have more complicated tools that I'll show you how to use to design ERDs. Because if you, and next week we're going to talk about the final project. It's too soon right now. But next week we're gonna talk about the final project and what the requirements are. So if you want to start doing it, you actually need to start next week to get it done, because it takes about 9 weeks to do, and I need it turned in by week 12. Okay, so looking at this website, I need a set table. I need a collectible card games table. I need a set table. I need a cards table. So what I would need to do here is go back to my Excel. So I've got a CCG table. I'm going to have CCG ID. And I apologize for using CCGs and collectible card games. I'm not sure how much you know about collectible card games, but it's just
Not much.
Yeah. It's you've got a brand, you've got the sets of cards, and you got the cards in the set. I mean, it's like baseball cards, right? I could do the same thing with baseball cards. I could do like the brand, the year, and the cards in the set. CCG ID, and then the name. Just really make this super simple. And over here, I'd have a table that was called sets, and I'd have the CCG ID. I'd have the set ID, and then I would have the name. And then over here, I'd have the cards, and I'd have the card ID. I would have the set ID, and I would have the name, and I have quantity, and I would have price. Okay, and I even spell price right. So now, this is just, I mean, for week 2, this is just 3 simple tables that kind of would give me the information that was required for that screen. Do you see where that would be coming from? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. But now I think I'm going to use my library site. I think it's a good idea.
Yeah. That's and this is going to ultimately help you with the final project if you want to go that route. Now there's something. Now I'm going to branch off for a quick second. I'm going to talk about something called normalization. So we don't really get into deeply what normalization is, but there are a number of rules about databases that we want to keep in mind. Number one, the first rule of databases is tables should only have information that relates to the title of the table. Okay, so if this is called the CCG, I would only have information about the CCGs. I wouldn't have anything. I wouldn't have the card names in here. I wouldn't have the set names in here. It is just about the CCGs. Like if I had a customer table or employee table, right here, I would have like employee ID, last name, first name, so on and so forth, right? But I wouldn't have things like, you know, what would not deal with the like I'm drawing a blank here. Like I would do like office number, right? So now you might say, well, the office number does have to do with the employee, right? Well, not really, because the office exists outside of the employee. The office is something that is not about the employee itself. It's just where you'd find the employee. So that would be in a different table. Does that make sense?
Makes sense to me.
Yes,
Okay.
it does.
Okay, so and we're gonna talk about this a lot when I do these diagrams. And this is kind of why I started the whole live thing on Wednesday nights, because I go off into these tangents and it's fun. Okay, so the rule number 1 normalization is only have information that deals directly with the title of that table in the table. Rule number 2 is we do not want duplicate data anywhere in the table, in the database. Okay. Now we're going to go more into that in detail in the next couple weeks when we talk about the database diagram design. But here I'm going to show you where it shows up here. So here I've got the CCG and the CC name. Here I've got the CCG ID and the set ID. Over here, I only have the set ID. Okay, I don't need to put the CCG ID in here because I can get it from this table, and I can write. And I'll show you I wrote a quick query on using a join, which is something that's like week 3 or 4 for you guys. But I'm going to talk about a little bit today. So when you join tables for information together, right? Because you want to get it out, and when you join tables, it gives you the information in a way that you want to see it. You want the customer to see it, so it's not confusing for them. You want to make it simple as possible. If I can get that information from another table, I don't need it in this existing table. So I don't need the CCG name or ID here because I can get it from over here. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Excellent. I asked that because normally in the classroom I would see heads nodding or that, or like looks of terror on people's faces. So, so this is all that you're asking for that assignment. Basically, find a website, right, that you can reverse engineer the backend, what the backend looks like. And you're gonna say, okay, so for this particular page, and just a quick 5-minute video, something like, okay, I went to this page, it's got sets, it's got the company names, it's got the sets over here, and it's got the cards and the prices and their condition and stuff like that. So obviously the database would look something like this. There'd be a CCG table with the CCG ID and the name. There'd be a set table with this information and the card table with this. So whichever one you did. So Jessica, if you want to do the library, that's great. But something not just like, you know, a Google search, like, you know, you don't want to just like, you know, try to reverse engineer that.
Yeah, right.
Because actually this is super complicated how the back end works on this. I don't know, you might be surprised on how complicated this back end is. Because it goes from here to like thousands of databases to find the information. So does that, excuse me. So does that project make sense? What it's looking for?
I think
What we're
so.
looking for makes sense. How to actually create the Zoom file is what I'm going to be getting in touch with you on a one-on-one for.
That's super easy. So you have Zoom, right? So
yeah.
you just open up like what I'm doing here. You open up a Zoom meeting and you're the only one in it, right?
Mhm.
And then you go over here and you go to record on your computer. And then it records on your computer. And then
Okay.
when you're done recording it, it will automatically when you're done recording, you end the meeting, it'll convert it to an MPEG or an MPEG file. You upload that to YouTube, and then you send me the link.
How essential is it that we have video of our faces? I know it says that to make sure that it's us, but I'm just checking.
So here's the thing. So we have, if you've looked at the secure exam proctor thing, we don't currently do that, I don't think. And the reason why we don't do that is because we require you to make a video with your faces on it to prove it's you.
Okay.
So if we don't have face videos, we have to do the secure exam proctor thing, which, trust me, if we can get around that, you don't want to do it. So I did my makeup for you guys tonight, you know, so I wouldn't look horrible. So, you know, just it'll be fine. You know, and even just like a quick hi, it's me, and then, you know, splash screen out to do whatever it is. But yeah, we do need to see faces on this because we don't, this is something we don't want to do. Because you have to install some software on your computer and it may not go right. And if you're using a Mac, it gets really weird because Macs are really weird. So, but yeah, so Barbara, you just go here, you record it. When you close out the meeting, it converts. You go to open up YouTube, you have a login for YouTube, you load the video up there, you give me the link, and that's that. And that's just the easiest way to do it. So.
Okay.
All right.
See how far I can get with that before
Okay.
I choke.
And like I said, you know, if you don't get it in time, you have problems, that's fine. If the video thing doesn't work at all, we can arrange a time. You can just do it for me live and we'll work that way. Whatever works best for you. Because like I said, I sit in front of a computer all day. So if you ping me, say you got 5 minutes now, I probably do. And I can just open up Zoom and you can do the video real quick and I'll watch it and I'll give you the grade as we talk about it live. Okay, that works fine.
All right, sounds good.
Okay. So are there any questions on this assignment? All right. So let me jump over to what we're actually talking about. So this week we're talking about select queries. So select queries are the basic element of a database transaction because you've got all this information in there. So you have to get it out somehow. And so the one thing I like about Transact SQL, and so you know, like Transact SQL is the basic language for every database platform out there. Oracle, Microsoft SQL Server, MySQL, DB, Postgres, MongoDB, all of them all use Transact SQL in some variety. It's kind of like just all the different, it's like when you go across America, everyone's got a different dialect. It's the same thing. It's the same language, just something like some don't use the quotes the same way, some don't have the exact same commands, but select is universal across all of them. So these 5 commands here are all the same everywhere. So so what we're talking about today is just select queries, right? So excuse me. The first command is select. And Transact SQL, I like it as a programming language, and it is a programming language because it's like English. It just tells you, you're just telling the computer on, select this from these tables where the value is this, group by, I'll talk about group by, and put it in this order. It's basic, it's just simple English. So select obviously tells the engine what columns that you want in the database, in the table or tables. What are the columns that you want? The from clause tells you what tables to take it from. The where clause gives the query filtering criteria to return the data. So you don't want everything, you just want where this is true. And I've got some queries I'll show you in a second. The group by clause is a concatenation clause. And I'm just gonna leave it at that, and I'm gonna show you some examples of what it does. But it's a concatenation clause, meaning, no, I'm sorry, it's an aggregation clause. I was confused there. An aggregation clause, because it's basically taking numbers and combining them for you. And I'll show you an example of that in a second. The order by clause puts the values in a specific order. Now you saw this in last week's assignment when you had that. No, that's this week's. So the queries this week, in the exercises, they talk about this stuff. By the way, and I meant to mention this, when you were doing the exercises today, if you're looking in the back of the book for the answers, which is totally fine because you can reverse engineer them, the answer for number 4 is wrong in the book. Okay, the answer for number 4 is wrong in the book. So if you give the book answer, it's wrong. So you got to look at the result set and figure out what the right answer is. It's really not that difficult. I'm sure you're going to get it, but just be aware that question number 4 in exercises, the answer is wrong in the book. Okay, so order by tells you what order to put these in. So let me go ahead and get these queries up here. Okay, so this is my workbench. This is where I do my work. The command prompt is super cool. You'll look cool when you do it. People think your job is hard. I don't need people to think my job is hard. I'm just going to do it through here because it's easier to troubleshoot, and I can do things like I have here. So the first one here is I'm going to select first name and last name from customer. Now in the workbench, if I just highlight a piece of code and run it, it only runs that piece of code. So you can really granularize how you run this and test your code. And here's my result set: Mary Smith, Patricia Johnson, blah 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 blah. All these people down here show up, right? It's just simple. Just give me the first name and last name from customer. Here I just did backwards. I did last name, first name. Okay. Now this was wrong, so let me get rid of that. Okay. Now let's say I wanted the last name and first name to return in one field. There's a command called concat, which stands for concatenation. What this does is anything within parentheses, it concats into one return row. So last name, comma, single quote, 99% of SQL engines only look, if you use a double quote, it'll break the query. Don't use double quote, only use single quotes. Single quote, comma, space, single quote, comma, first name as customer. Now what this happens is if I run this without this, and I'm ordering by the last name, it gives me the query here, right? If I add as customer, it aliases the column for me. So it gives the column a name instead of just this, right? And that can happen with even a column like this. You want to change the last name of that, whatever that is, you have to use the as clause, and you can change the value of the column. change the column's name. It is not a permanent change. It is a cosmetic change. And it is something that we do. So as DBAs, when we look at data and it looks like this, we don't care because we understand what that means. The average customer is going to look at that and cry because they have no idea what that says. Why does it say concat? It makes no sense to me. Why is my life so hard? You know? So we want to make sure our customers don't have nervous breakdowns when they look at our results. So we alias the
but it's so much
columns.
fun to watch.
But we don't get to see it because they're at a computer far away. If we were in the room, that's cool.
That's true.
You know?
Yeah, that's true.
So we want to make sure that, you know, our number 4 job as DBAs is to make sure that the code, the result data sets come out in such a way that anyone can understand it.
Here, I have a question. Okay,
Sure.
so the correct formatting on that is you just put the comma in the parentheses. The other things, you don't have to wrap them in anything. You just put
No,
them in.
because so whenever you use something that looks like this, the engine assumes you're talking about a column name. And it's going to look, if it's not in quotes, wrapped in quotes, it's going to assume you're talking about a column name. And it's going to, like, if I did this, right, I'm going to get an error saying no such column name. I think that's the error you get. So if I ran this and just ran that like that, I'm going to get an error. And the error down here says, come on, get all the way down here. Oh, move this here. Get out of my way. Thank you. Yeah. Unknown column.
Unknown column.
L name in field list. Because anything that's not in quotes, it's going to assume is a column. Okay. Except numbers. Obviously, numbers won't assume it's a column. So if you just do a number there, it's going to go, oh, it's a number. But that can cause other problems. We'll talk about that when we're talking about changing data types. Okay, so now here, I'm adding another criteria. I'm adding store ID. Add the customer thing here. Okay, I'm just add the store customer. Just another simple query. I'm ordering by last name. Still, I can order by what I want. Okay, I'm gonna do the same query here, but I'm gonna order by store ID and then last name. So what happens is whatever is first in the order by clause, right? Will get sorted first, and then the next column will get sorted. So when I do it this way, you'll see I'm going to sort by store ID first and then alphabetically by last name. And there's 2,000 names here, so I can't really scroll down here. So in order to show you what that looks like, I'm going to add a where clause. The where clause limits the amount of data that is being shown, because maybe you don't need to see all 2,000 customers. Maybe you just want to know the last names that begin with D or whatever. So here we do where last name like, which is a comparative operator. Okay. And then we put in quotes D and then the % sign. Now we're going to get wildcard operator. They can think week 3 or 4 or 5. We're going to get more complicated with how the wildcards work in this and how you can like get really kind of funky with this. But for right now, just know that % sign is your wildcard operator. You can go D%. Anything that starts with the letter D is going to come up. Everything else will be ignored, and we're going to order by store ID and last name. And here we go. And now we can see a little better how we've got these sorted out with that, and then we got these sorted out with that. Okay. Am I going too fast? This is good pace. Everyone getting this?
Yeah, that makes sense. I was concerned about the sort order because of using Excel for so many millions of years. If you sort once and then you sort a secondary sort, it wipes out your first sort. So the second sort that you do becomes the primary sort.
Right.
And so this is just backwards.
Right. So in Transact SQL, the first column is your primary sort. The second column is your secondary sort, and you can like go down the line if you want. You can like sort 3 or 4 times.
Right.
Okay, so here we got this. So now here, the other thing you can do, and this, you know, this is something you can do, and this is, so by the way, I'll tell you a secret. In question number 4 on the examples of the exercises, the order by clause is what's wrong. Okay, the order by clause is what's wrong. So here I can use numbers instead of the column names. Why? I never understood this, because why would you just put the names there and be a nice person so everyone understands what you're doing? But what you can do is order by 1, 2, order by 1, and that's 2.
Mhm.
Rather that's 2. So this is about cardinality in column order. So this is column number 1, this is column number 2. So if I do order by 1, 2, it's going to order by this first and then order by this. If I do order 2, 1, it's going to order by this first and then by this. I would show you what that looks
Right.
like, but it doesn't make any sense. So if I run this, I get the same results as that above set here. It's the same thing, except I didn't put I'm making my customers cry. Okay. So it's the exact same thing. It's just using 1 and 2 instead. Okay. All that makes sense. All we're good. We're good with that.
Yes.
All right. So now we're going to talk about group by. Group by, like I said, is an aggregate function. Okay. If I just do select rating, okay, it's not. I forgot a comment here. Okay. Okay. So if I just do select rating from this, and I do group, and I get rid of this group by here. Okay. Okay. Get rid of this here. Yep. And I do select rating from film, order by rating. I just get a whole lot of stuff. But let's say I want to know how many G-rated movies were there, how many R-rated movies, how many NC-17 movies there were. Okay. So what I can do is this. I can say select rating, and then use this command called count. And it's going to tell me how many of each entry in this column there are. It's going to be from film, and I use this group by clause. Okay. So now here's the most important thing I will say tonight, because this will solve so many problems for you come like week 4 on. If you're using an aggregate function in the select clause, any column that is not an aggregate must be in the group by clause. And I'm going to show you that in the next one here. Okay. Let me say it again.
Wait. Aggregate, like meaning.
This is an aggregate because I'm aggregating a number. Let me show you the
Okay.
results of this. Okay. Let me show you how this comes out. Boom. There are 178 G-rated movies, 994 PG, 223, 195, and 210 NC-17s. Okay. So what this did was it said, okay, I'm going to go get the ratings and I'm going to see how many of each rating is this. I'm going to aggregate those numbers and I'm going to give you that result set. Okay. So, so let me say this again. I'm going to show you another example of this here in a second before we go to my last one here. So anything, so there's a number of these. There's count, there's average, there's sum, there's several. Those are the 3 main ones. Okay, there's median, but these are the count, sum, and average are going to be your normal ones that you use. Those are aggregate functions. If there is an aggregate function in your select clause, anything that is not an aggregate must be in here. Because if I did this without this line in here, the error I would get is this. Well, that's not an error. It just won't, it'll come up wrong. And that's, I don't know why those, okay. My that's a weird edge. So normally you get an error saying there's no group by clause. Okay. So let me show you. So this is what it looks like if I'm using the count. It gives me my rating and it gives me my count and so on. I can use here, I could do sum, and I can do, here's a neat little cheat that people who watch this can see. Let me see, I want to go back to film here. I got length of boop. Saves the typing, right? So I go here and I group by, oops, I still group by rating. So now I'm just going to get the sum of the total length of all the G-rated movies. I run that. And if you want to watch every G-rated movie, there's 19,000 minutes of that. And you can do like math functions in it. So there's like 329 hours of G-rated movies. The other thing you can do, you got the average function. I think this is correct in MySQL. Yep, it should be. Boom, here we are. And then we can do this. And the average length is 111 minutes, 112, 113. Okay. So if it's here, if something is here, then anything that's not there has to be here. I'm gonna show you the next query I got. Okay. This last query here, and I got an inner join here, and I'm just basically linking two tables. I'm linking the film table and the language table. Okay. I am getting the name of the language, okay, the rating, and how many ratings are from that. So how many ratings are in each language? Does that make so? So let me run this query so you can see the result set. I've got this backward. Let me I was doing different order by clauses, so let me fix this here so it looks a little bit more palatable. No, this is right. Yeah, this is right. I want to switch this around. No, this is fine. So here, okay, let's look at this. So I'm selecting the name of the language. So here, inner join language as L, and this is I'm aliasing the table name in my query, so I don't have to type language everywhere. So I can just do L here instead of typing out language. So selecting the name of the language, the rating from the film table, and how many of each rating there are from the film table. I'm joining language and film together on this, and this we're going to talk more about this in week 2 or 3. Just kind of like smile and nod at this. Okay, this is an aggregate function, so we need these two things in our group by clause, so it will actually work and give us the right result. And then I'm going to order it by rating, and then by the name of the language. Okay, so we look down here. Okay, we're ordering by rating. So here's my rating. I'm ordering G, PG, PG-13R, NC-17, and then under G, I've got English, Italian, Spanish, English, Italian, Japanese, English, Italian, Japanese, and then I got my counts over here. Okay. Does this make sense?
That does.
Okay. So I'll put
I'm
these.
gonna have to probably rewatch this video to replicate it and pause. But yes, it makes sense.
Well, here's what I'll tell you to do. When you start looking at, I'm gonna take these queries and I'm gonna put these queries should work on your databases because we all have the same Sakilla database, right? So you'll be able to run these in your engine. What you need to do is, and one of the things about doing this is like, you just want to start sitting here, like when you got some free time, saying, okay, what do I want to know? I want to know how many customers rented a specific film. And you have to figure out like how you figure that out through the tables, you know, how many you got this table film, you got this film actor table, right? And you've got this actor table. So you can say like, you know, how many actors with the last name that starts with R has starred in G-rated movies. And I'm not trying to confuse. I'm saying like when you start getting good with this, you want to start writing these queries and trying to figure out how to do them. Try to find the mechanics of it, start playing with it, try to get this information out. Okay, because this actually is part of the final exam, the final project into coming up with these queries. Okay, so yeah, you'll rewatch the video. These queries are I'm going to put these in the announcement so you can grab these out and use them because they'll work in your databases. Okay. But that covers what you need to know. We need to talk about the select query, the from query. We didn't need to talk about this today, so that's just bonus. Group by and order by. We also didn't need to talk about the count and the group, the count, and we didn't have to. We weren't supposed to talk about not supposed to. And the concat is also a bonus function here. So So remember, count, average, sum. Those are your aggregate functions. There's way more of them. If you want to go find them, go find them. But those are the three main ones you'll use. All right. I think that covers everything I need to talk about. I open the floor to questions.
All right, well, I'm gonna head out. Thank you.
Okay. Barbara, do you have any other questions?
I think I'm.
Okay.
Not on the recorded portion.
Okay. I can go ahead and I will end the recording here, and then I can ask any other questions about that. All right. Let me do that, and I'm going to stop the recording.